In this chapter, we're going to be talking about cognitive development of young children. The text is in Essentials, pages 136 through 160. The broad topics that we're going to be talking about in this chapter are what exactly is early childhood cognitive development. We're going to touch on major learning theories and theorists who developed these theories. We'll talk about executive function and school readiness, how children learn through play, and children as scientists, content learning. The first question most people have when we talk about cognitive development is what exactly is cognitive? And a simple definition of cognitive is just a child's increasing ability to think. It does include um, reasoning, expanding memory, problem solving, to think symbolically or employ logic and judgment, prediction, and understanding perspective and cause and effect. So it's a very broad um, concept, but it all comes back to a child's increasing ability to think. The adults in a child's life have a vital role in supporting their cognitive growth. And there are four essential aspects of um, learning for young children, and that includes a loving and caring relationship with the adults in their world. It also includes opportunities to explore through their senses, conversation and language richness in the environment, and the ability to explore through play. What children learn between the ages of birth to 5 um, lay the foundation for successful lifelong learning. In order for children to become confident learners, they need to um, have adults who encourage their discovery and exploration and their curiosity. One of the things your textbook touches on briefly is the fact that if children's basic needs aren't met, it's really hard for them to um, gain cognitive skills. It's hard for anyone to focus on learning if they are worried or stressed or hungry or tired or feel poorly. And so we need to be meeting the needs of the whole child in order for them to succeed academically. Now in class, we watched the video 6 Cognitive Discoveries in Infancy, and you also have that handout in the packet that I've given you. And in class on Saturday, we also really went over what those discoveries are. Our role as a caregiver in helping infants to achieve each of those 6 discoveries is to set up an environment that allows exploration and has plenty of opportunity and materials for them to explore each of those 6 discoveries. And as we talked about in class, any one activity or material could be encouraging more than one of those discoveries simultaneously. So it's real important for us to understand what those are and to understand how we can assist children in gaining those abilities. In your textbook on page 137 to 143, there's discussion about several early childhood philosophers or theorists. Each of these persons at some point studied how young children learn best and how to meet the social and emotional needs of young children. As early childhood caregivers, we can use the information that they've researched and founded to help us in our work with children. When you read about them, you'll see some of the information that we talked about in class on Saturday when we did the philosopher's activity. And so it's really important, I think, that as you're developing your own theory and your own philosophy about what is the best way to work with young children, that you have some foundation and basis for where those thoughts are coming. And these are some of the most renowned early childhood philosophers listed here in your textbook. I do want to talk just a minute about one of the theorists, Jean Piaget. And Jean Piaget discovered that children learn differently than adults, and that there's a series of stages children progress through from birth into adulthood. And one of the things that he talked about is how children view things or see things differently. And one of the examples that he gave is that if a child sees water poured into a short, wide glass, and then that same amount of water is poured into a tall, thin glass, that children will think that there is more in the tall, thin glass because it looks bigger. Eventually, they come to the point where they understand that the amount of water in each glass was the same, but they only came to that when they could explore with that medium on their own to figure that out. A few more examples of how young children's thinking is different from an adult. For instance, the teacher told the children to move to the music, and so the children got up and moved to the CD player. They went and stood beside of it. They weren't understanding to move to the music meant to dance. They were moving to where the music was. Another example of how children think differently, a 3-year-old child has a toothache, and the adult asks if it hurts, and the child replies, "Yes, can't you feel it?" Because they don't understand that what they're feeling, we aren't feeling too, because a child that young still hasn't necessarily begun to understand that they are separate from the caregiver or the parent that takes care of them. So now we're looking at page 144 in your textbook. And on page 144, there's the beginning of discussion of executive function and school readiness. Now, executive function sounds like a pretty big word, but basically means the mental process that children need in order to connect past experiences with present action. And so it's when a child begins to be able to take all that prior knowledge and experience they've had and apply it to new information and new learning. Now, what these processes do for children is to help them be able to regulate their own behavior, which allows them to concentrate and control impulse, be able to manage their time and stay organized and persistent so that they can follow instructions that are multi-step. This is going to help children to become successful students and to be ready for school. So we talk about that developing these skills is crucial to their thinking and to their success, academic, and to their life success. 0 to 3, which is a National Center for Infants and Toddlers, has identified 7 different social emotional skills in particular that they feel like are essential to school readiness. And so that's what we're going to talk about right now. So the first of the 7 social emotional skills to be essential for school readiness is confidence. And we know that in order for children to feel confident, they have to have opportunities to succeed. And they also have to know that the adults who are working with them will help them to be successful. Infants, toddlers, preschoolers all demonstrate confidence when they try something new, and they are really excited and enthusiastic about their accomplishment. And so they're looking for us as the adults to share in their excitement and their enthusiasm about what they've achieved. The next of these social emotional skills is curiosity. And when I think about curiosity, I think of it as a desire to learn or to discover. These are the children who have lots of questions, and they're always exploring, and they're active in their surroundings to investigate, and they want to use their senses. And we have to encourage that. And oftentimes, we do just the opposite. We discourage the questions. We discourage the active exploration. And what we need to remember is that children who have a strong curiosity have a strong desire to learn. The next of these 7 skills is intentionality. And this is their persistence, their determination, their willingness to listen attentively and to try again. Children who have confidence are more likely to be willing to be very intentional and to be persistent. And so we really want to build these children up and help them to become I can instead of I can't kids. We want them to be persistent and to know that if they didn't succeed the first time, they can try until they do succeed. The fourth is self-control. This is also known as self-regulation. And this just describes children's ability to control their actions in ways that are appropriate for their age and developmental level. This is really important for children to become successful in their education process. We also have relatedness as one of these social emotional skills. And this is just a child's ability to engage with others and to feel like they are accepted and understood. In order for children to be truly successful, they need to have success in their social setting. And so this is a really important skill for us to work with young children on, is learning to relate to their peers and relate to their caregivers, and to feel accepted and understood in their group. Next, we have capacity to communicate. We want to teach children to have the desire and the ability to share their feelings and their ideas and their thoughts with others. And not only to share theirs, but to listen and be accepting of other people's ideas and thoughts and feelings. It's really important for them to be successful communicators in order to succeed academically. The last of the 7 skills is cooperativeness, and this just describes the child's ability to engage in tasks or activities that balance their needs with the needs of others. Cooperativeness is very essential to success in an educational setting, and so that is a skill that we're working on with these young children, birth to 5. And so there are many things you can do in the classroom to help children practice cooperativeness. There can be games and activities that require turn-taking, materials that require more than one person to participate in that together, encouraging children to help each other, whether it be in cleanup or if a friend falls down, helping them to build up, in order for them to be able to build together in the block area, that they might be able to discuss what it is they want to build as a team. And so those are just some things you can do to help establish that cooperativeness in the children. Learning through play. Let me just say, if you want children to learn anything, 2 of the best ways for you to give them the opportunity to do that is for them to play and for you to be a model of whatever it is you're wanting them to learn. Play is a child's work. Play is where they explore their interests. It's where they practice familiar tasks and explore new things. This is where they really learn to communicate and cooperate. Many of those 7 skills that we talked about are clearly learned while a child is playing. On pages 146 through 148, it talks about how infants and toddlers should be spending the majority of their day playing. Preschoolers still need ample uninterrupted free play time throughout the day. And during this time, they are really developing memory skills and attention and regulation skills. And it gives them lots of opportunity to have uninterrupted playtime to make cognitive connections. This is when, if we observe the children and we scaffold their learning, which means we step in and we intentionally join their play when it's appropriate, and we take them from where they are to the next level. So we build upon what they already know, and that is what scaffolding is. These things can all happen during play with the child.
It's really important to remember that learning takes place from the moment that the children arrive to your classroom, throughout every interaction, every activity, every routine of the day. There is some kind of learning that is occurring. We do, however, know that children learn best through play, and that when they are developing one area, they are developing in many areas. So we know that in children's exploration and their play, we can kind of compare them to little scientists. They're not only refining cognitive skills that they already have as they play, but they're working to acquire content knowledge. And that content knowledge is in areas like language and literacy, math topics, science, art, social studies, technology. So they're working to learn concepts such as shape and color and size and sequencing and patterning and classification, putting like items together in a group. One of the last content, content type skills that they will work on will be number recognition and letter recognition. Those will come even after they've began to count. And so while they're playing, there's many opportunities for them to work on all of those concepts. I kind of compare it to the discoveries of infancy that we talked about earlier. There were those 6 cognitive discoveries, and that's what infants are working on. As children move into latter toddler years and preschool years, they start to work on these more school readiness content type concepts. And so it's really important that we provide a lot of activities and materials and opportunities for them to recognize and notice color, for them to talk about shapes and see shapes and interact with shapes, as to sequence out the events of a story, or to sequence out the steps of a recipe, to classify things, group all the animals together, group all of the vehicles together, all the fruits, all the vegetables. And then later on to start recognizing those numerals and those letters of the alphabet, so that they can really start to work on the higher level mathematics and beginning of reading.